Look at me.
Has been shot up.
Jamie Dutton has made many mistakes in his life, but betraying Beth might be the one that finally seals his fate. For years, Yellowstone fans have watched the tension between Jamie and Beth grow into something far beyond sibling rivalry, something darker, deeper, and fueled by years of pain. But what if Season 2, Episode 5 of 1923 brings us the moment we've all been waiting for? What if Rip finally learns the full extent of Jamie's betrayal and takes justice into his own hands? With secrets unraveling and vengeance brewing, Jamie's days might be numbered. Could this be the end of Jamie Dutton at the hands of Rip Wheeler? Let's break it all down. From the very beginning, Jamie and Beth's relationship has been filled with bitterness. But nothing compares to the weight of the secret that has haunted Beth for years, one that Jamie played a direct role in. For those who don't know, Jamie once made a decision that changed Beth's life forever. He took her to an abortion clinic on the Broken Rock Reservation.
Worse,
He never told her the truth, allowing
Beth
Beth
to
to
suffer
suffer without even knowing
children.
what had been taken from her. When she finally found out, she vowed never to forgive Jamie. Now, in 1923, Season 2, Episode 5, Beth is done keeping secrets. She has spent years burying her pain using anger as a weapon and keeping Rip in the dark. But something shifts. Maybe it's Jamie's recent power play, his smug arrogance, or the mere fact that he has a son of his own while Beth is left with nothing. Whatever it is, Beth reaches her breaking point. And this time, she doesn't just lash out. She tells Rip everything. This is where things get dangerous. Rip Wheeler is a man of action. He doesn't do well with betrayal, especially when it involves the woman he loves. And Jamie isn't just another enemy. He's family. Or at least he used to be. That connection, however thin, has always been the only thing keeping Jamie alive. But once Rip learns the truth, that connection shatters. Beth doesn't have to tell Rip what to do. She doesn't need to beg for vengeance or demand retribution. Rip already knows. The moment those words leave Beth's mouth, the moment her pain becomes his own, Jamie Dutton's fate is sealed. The question isn't if Rip will kill Jamie, it's when. And knowing Rip, it won't be long before that answer comes. Rip Wheeler is a man of few words, but when he makes up his mind, there's no turning back. The moment Beth's confession sinks in, a quiet storm builds inside him. He doesn't yell, he doesn't break anything. He simply walks away, and that's how Beth knows Jamie is as good as dead. Rip isn't the type to threaten, he acts. The Duttons have always handled their problems in their own brutal way. He spent his entire life maneuvering around his family, calculating his moves and ensuring his survival. He may have been blind to Beth's endless hatred, and when he sees Rip's face, that cold, unreadable stare, he knows his time is running out. Suddenly, every decision matters. Every step could be his last. Jamie may hold political power, but that means nothing on the Yellowstone Ranch. The law won't save him, and deep down he knows it. So he does what he's always done. He runs. But Rip doesn't chase. He hunts. And when Rip hunts, there's no escape. Jamie might think he's outsmarting his fate, slipping through legal loopholes and hiding behind his office walls, but he's only delaying the inevitable, because Rip isn't coming with paperwork or threats. He's coming with the same ruthless precision that has buried countless bodies in the train station. And when Rip comes, there's no mercy. Jamie is a dead man walking, and he knows it. Every second, every breath, he can feel death creeping closer. Beth will be watching, waiting for the moment she finally gets to see justice served. The tension builds with every passing moment, every unanswered call, every time Jamie looks over his shoulder and finds nothing but silence. But silence is the most terrifying thing of all, because it means Rip is near. And when Rip is near, it's already over. Jamie Dutton has spent his entire life trying to prove himself. He has always known the father, and later to himself. Like the rest of the Duttons. He was never built for the kind of blood-soaked loyalty that binds them together. He plays the game with laws, deals, and backroom politics, believing that intelligence and strategy could make up for what he lacks in brute force. But now, with Rip hunting him down, Jamie realizes that none of that matters. The courtroom won't save him, his position won't protect him, and the laws he clings to mean nothing when it comes to the Duttons. In their world, power isn't held by politicians, it's held by the people who are willing to do whatever it takes to survive. And Jamie has never been that person. Panic grips him like a vice. He knows the rules of this not just a myth whispered around the ranch. Out time and time again. It is a reality that swallows people whole. a place where problems are buried and never spoken of again. He has watched men disappear, their names erased, their existence reduced to nothing more than a faded memory. And now, he is next in line. His mind races with possibilities, scrambling for an escape route. He could leave Montana, change his name, disappear into the world
But he
beyond
knows better.
Yellowstone. Rip's reach extends further than the borders of the ranch. There is nowhere he could hide that Rip wouldn't find him. He would have to do something drastic, something that changes the game entirely. Desperation drives him to the only person he thinks might help, Sarah Atwood. She has been whispering in his ear for months, feeding his ego, convincing him that he could take down John Dutton, that he could claim the power that he has always been denied. But now, standing in front of her, he is not a man with ambition. He is a man begging for his life. He tells her everything. He lays it all out. The truth about the abortion, Beth's hatred, Rip's wrath, and the fact that, right now, he is a walking corpse. He expects Sarah to be shocked, to show some semblance of fear on his behalf. But she only tilts her head, calculating. This is what she does. She turns chaos into opportunity. Then don't run, she tells him. Fight. The word feels foreign to Jamie. He has never truly fought for anything in his life, not in the way the Duttons do. His battles have always been waged with signatures and loopholes, not bullets and blood. But what other choice does he have? He isn't just fighting for power anymore. He is fighting for survival. If he wants to live, he has to outthink Rip, to be 3 steps ahead. And to do that, he has to do something no one expects. He picks up his phone and dials a number he never thought he'd call. When the voice on the other end answers, he doesn't hesitate. "I need protection," he says. "I have information that will take down the entire Yellowstone Ranch. It's a gamble, a last-ditch effort to turn the tables before Rip catches up to him. But even as he speaks the words, a part of him knows. It's already too late, because once Rip Wheeler sets his sights on a target, nothing, not the law, not a deal, not even the devil himself, can stand in his way. And Jamie Dutton is about to learn that the hard way. Jamie Dutton has always believed he was smarter than the rest of his family, that he could outmaneuver them with words and legal technicalities. But he has never faced a force like Rip Wheeler head-on. Rip isn't a man who plays games or waits for justice to take its course. He delivers it himself, without hesitation or remorse. And now, Jamie's time has run out. Despite Jamie's desperate attempt to seek protection, his fate was sealed the moment Beth told Rip the truth. He may have tried to align himself with powerful forces, offering up secrets about the Dutton Empire in exchange for his life, but he underestimated one thing. Rip doesn't give second chances. There is no bargaining, no negotiating. In Rip's eyes, Jamie is a threat that needs to be eliminated, plain and simple. No amount
Jamie
of law
feels the walls
enforcement,
closing in
bodyguards,
around
or
him.
political favors
Every moment
will
is
stop what is
filled with
coming. Paranoia. The sound of his own footsteps echoes in his ears. The shadows feel longer, the silence heavier. He knows Rip is near. The waiting is unbearable. He has spent his life running from his problems, thinking he could always talk his way out of them. Then, it happens. The air is thick with tension as Jamie steps into his car, hands trembling as he fumbles with the keys. His heart pounds against his ribcage, sweat slicking his palms. He exhales sharply, trying to steel himself, trying to convince himself that he still has a way out. But before he can even start the engine, he sees him, Rip, standing in the middle of the road, illuminated by the harsh glow of the headlights, his figure as still as a statue. No emotion on his face, no hesitation in his stance. He is death incarnate, come to collect what has long been owed. Jamie's breath catches in his throat. His body tenses, every instinct screaming at him to move, to drive, to But
flee,
he can't,
to do
because
anything
deep
but
down,
frozen in the
he
face of
knows
his
this moment was
executioner.
inevitable. "Rip," he says, his voice cracking, "you don't have to do this." Rip takes a slow step forward, the gravel crunching beneath his boots. His eyes are unreadable, dark pools of quiet fury. "Yeah, I do." Jamie shakes his head violently. "It wasn't my fault," he blurts out. "I didn't know what they were going to do to her. I was just a kid. I didn't have a choice." His voice is frantic, desperate, searching for anything that might make Rip hesitate. Rip says coldly,
Rip doesn't
stepping
hesitate.
closer. "Now I'm taking yours." Jamie's breaths come in short, panicked gasps. In a sudden burst of adrenaline, he reaches for the gun he stashed in the glove compartment. His fingers wrap around the grip, yanking it free. But before he can lift it, Rip is already moving. A single gunshot shatters the night. Jamie jerks violently, his body slamming back against the seat as the force of the bullet rips through his chest. He gasps, his fingers loosening around the gun as his world tilts sideways. Pain explodes through him, a fiery, unbearable sensation spreading like wildfire. He chokes on his own breath, his vision blurring. Rip lowers his gun, watching as Jamie struggles for air. No words are exchanged. There is no dramatic monologue, no final plea for mercy. Jamie Dutton, the man who thought he could outthink, outrun, and outmaneuver his own fate, is finally face to face with the one thing he could never escape: justice, delivered in its most brutal, unforgiving form. His body slumps forward against the steering wheel. The horn blares, a long, haunting sound that fills the night. Rip exhales slowly, holstering his weapon, his face impassive. He doesn't feel triumph. There is no victory here, just another loose end tied up, another name added to the long list of those who stood against the Yellowstone and lost. As the sound of the horn fades, Rip takes one last look at Jamie before turning away, walking back into the night like a ghost vanishing into the darkness. There's nothing left to say. The message has been delivered. And just like that, Jamie Dutton is no more. The night is eerily still as Rip Wheeler walks away from Jamie's lifeless body. He doesn't look back. There's no need. The job is done, and nothing can change what's happened. Jamie Dutton, once a brother, once a Dutton, and always a traitor, is gone. The weight of the act should be crushing, but Rip doesn't feel remorse. He never does when it comes to protecting his family. In his mind, Jamie made his choice a long time ago. All Rip did was ensure he faced the consequences. But as Rip makes his way back to the Yellowstone Ranch, he knows the real storm is just beginning. Killing Jamie wasn't just an execution, it was a message, one that will send ripples across Montana. Jamie wasn't just another ranch hand or an enemy from the outside, he was a Dutton by name, if not by blood. His death won't go unnoticed, and though the ranch has seen its fair share of bodies buried in the train station, this one will be different. The question is, what happens next? Beth is waiting when Rip returns. She doesn't ask. She doesn't need to. The moment she sees Rip, she knows Jamie is dead. A slow exhale escapes her lips, and for the first time in years, the fire in her eyes dims just slightly. It's over. The man she's hated more than anyone in this world is finally gone. The man who took away her ability to have a child, who betrayed their family time and time again, who thought he could play both sides and survive. He's nothing more than a ghost now. Beth has imagined this moment 1,000 times. She thought she would feel elation, that she would celebrate the day Jamie Dutton was wiped off the face of the earth. But as she stares at Rip, blood on his hands and exhaustion in his eyes, she realizes something unexpected. She doesn't feel joy. She doesn't feel the overwhelming satisfaction she thought would come with revenge. Instead, she feels empty. Jamie is dead, but the past remains. Nothing can change what happened to her. Nothing can bring back what she lost. And for the first time, Beth wonders if all that rage, all that hatred was ever really worth it. Rip doesn't say much. He never does. But he reaches for Beth, pulling her close, and for the first time in a long time, she lets herself lean into him. Because Rip isn't just the man who avenged her. He's the only thing keeping her from completely losing herself. But there's one more thing left to face. John Dutton. When John hears about Jamie's death, he doesn't react the way most men would upon losing a son. He doesn't cry. He doesn't rage. He simply nods, as if he expected this outcome all along. In a way, maybe he did. Jamie's fate was sealed the moment he chose to betray the family. John gave him chance after chance. But Jamie always found a way to disappoint. And now, there are no more chances left to give. Still, John knows this isn't just another body to disappear in the train station. This is bigger. The governor of Montana's adopted son has been murdered, and people will ask questions. The law may not have touched the Duttons before, but this time, it won't be so easy to sweep under the rug. John has spent his life protecting this family, but even he knows that every action has a consequence. And now, the biggest one of all is coming. As dawn breaks over the Yellowstone Ranch, Rip, Beth, and John all know that things will never be the same again. Jamie may be gone, but the war isn't over. If anything, it's only just begun. Because while the Duttons have spent years eliminating their enemies, this time, their biggest enemy might not be a rival rancher or a greedy developer. It might be the ghosts of their own past catching up with them. One thing is certain, blood has been spilled, and the cost of that blood is yet to be determined. And as Rip Wheeler watches the sun rise over the land he has fought so hard to protect, he knows one undeniable truth. There's no turning back now. The weight of Jamie's death settles over the Yellowstone Ranch like a storm cloud. Rip, Beth, and John have all played their part in shaping this moment, but none of them can predict what happens next. The war is far from over, and the Duttons are now in the eye of the storm. Beth watches the sun rise from the porch, a cigarette burning between her fingers. She should feel victorious. Jamie is dead, and with him, the last remnants of her deepest pain should have died too. But the truth is, revenge is never as satisfying as people believe. She thought she would feel whole, liberated. Instead, she feels as though she has lost something else along the way. Herself. Rip notices. He always does. He doesn't say anything, just steps beside her, the scent of leather and smoke wrapping around her like a blanket. He is her anchor in this world of chaos, the one thing keeping her from drowning in her own rage. But even he knows that what they did has consequences. Jamie may have been a traitor, but he wasn't a nobody. People will come looking for him. And that means they will come looking for the Duttons. John Dutton, ever the pragmatist, is already thinking 10 steps ahead. He gathers his inner circle, knowing that their next moves will determine whether the Dutton Empire stands strong or crumbles under the weight of its own sins. Killing Jamie was necessary, but it wasn't a clean kill. It wasn't a nameless drifter dumped at the train station or a business rival disappearing under mysterious circumstances. It was his own son, or at least the boy he raised as his son. That means questions will be asked. And unlike the lawless days of the past, there are more eyes watching than ever before. Governor John Dutton has enemies in every direction: politicians, businessmen, law enforcement agencies, and people who have spent years waiting for him to slip. Jamie had allies in places the Duttons barely even considered threats before. Sarah Atwood, Market Equities, and the political elite of Montana all had a stake in Jamie's success. His sudden disappearance will not go unnoticed. And Sarah, the snake that she is, will not take this loss lying down. She is a woman who plays the long game, and if she can't have Jamie, she will find another way to dismantle the Dutton family. Then, there is the law. Jamie had positioned himself as a public figure, a man with political ambitions. His death isn't just personal, it's political. The people of Montana will demand answers, and when those answers don't come, investigators will start digging. And the more they dig, the closer they get to the secrets the Duttons have spent generations burying. Beth knows this. She understands the stakes better than anyone. And for the first time in her life, she begins to question whether the war they've been fighting is still worth it. They have sacrificed everything for this land. How much more blood will be spilled before the land itself turns against them? Rip, ever loyal, will follow John and Beth into the fire if that's what it takes. But even he knows that their enemies are growing in number. He has fought, killed, and buried men for the Yellowstone. He will do it again, but this time, something feels different. There is a weight pressing on him, a whisper in the back of his mind telling him that this fight might be the one that finally breaks them all. As the days pass, rumors spread. Reporters begin sniffing around. Questions are being asked about Jamie's whereabouts. Sarah Atwood is seen meeting with federal agents. Tensions are rising among the ranchers, and there is a growing sense of unease across Montana. The death of Jamie Dutton may have been inevitable, but it has set off a chain of events that no one can stop. The Yellowstone Ranch is more vulnerable than ever. John, Beth, and Rip all know that they are standing on a knife's edge. And the question that lingers in the air, unspoken but ever present, is simple. Is this the beginning of the end for the Dutton family? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Blood has been spilled, and the war is far from over. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated on all the latest Yellowstone and 1923 theories, don't forget to like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and I turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.